All right.
Good morning, LinkedIn. I'm so excited this morning. I've been waiting for this day, not just for a few days or a week or a couple of weeks, but actually a few months. I'm really, really excited about the guest that I will be interviewing today for a couple of reasons. So, today we're talking about how to create a virtual business, either how to create it from scratch or how to take your traditional business and bring it to the digital world. And so, pertinent topic these days, right? More so than ever. And my guest, Bill Bishop, is the writer of a book that I have to tell you, and I'm an avid reader, I read a lot. I think it's one of the top five business books, if not higher, if not lower number, that has impacted me the most. I read this book, I believe, either at the end of last year or the beginning of this year. It was recommended to me by a fellow entrepreneur from Entrepreneurs Organization, of which I'm a member. I was talking to him about my passion for creating communities, bringing people together, but kind of not knowing what to do with that. How do I monetize that? How do I structure it? How do I package it? He told me about Bill Bishop, and he told me about his book called The New Factory Thinker. And by the way, so that I don't forget to say it at any point, in the event page, which you used on LinkedIn to sign up for today's discussion, on the bottom, you'll see there's a link to the PDF version of the book, which Bill graciously offered to us, because right now, again, it's more timely than ever. I read The New Factory Thinker. It was written in 2016. And it impacted me deeply. And I know that if you are thinking at all about anything, business related, virtual, digital, it's a must read. So since I read that book, usually what I do when I read something and it impacts me, I start virtually stalking the writer of the book to speak to them. Podcast, webinar, just any type of call. And that's what I've been doing with Bill, to no avail. Until the pandemic, we're all stuck inside. I reached out to Bill again and I said, listen, I just did another webinar of yours and your message needs to be spread further. Please let me interview you. He said yes. I was running around the house jumping, saying yay, yay, yay. And the day's here, I finally get to interview him. So let me bring Bill into our conversation without further ado. Hi, Bill.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Very good. And by the way, I read your other books too, not only New Factory Thinker, which is the one we're talking about today. And I also, because, I'm also a headhunter, so I stalk people on LinkedIn and I look at everything about them.
Yeah.
I thought it was timely to mention right now these days that you were involved years ago with Marketing Pictionary.
Right. Yeah, that was one of my big first marketing campaigns.
I think that's pertinent today as we're all, stuck at home playing more board games than ever before.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some time to play Pictionary.
Right.
For sure. Yeah, I've got a whole hour I could talk about games with you if you want.
No, I want to talk about virtual businesses.
That's another one.
Really stoked that you've joined us. And so, New Factory Thinker, first of all, for those who are not familiar with your work yet, if you can just give us some definitions. What's old factory? What's new factory? And let's clarify that we're not just talking about actual factories. So what is your idea? What is your big idea behind it?
Right. Okay. Thank you for that question. So, my business is called the Big Idea Company. So we're an innovation packaging company. So we work with business owners, entrepreneurs, big companies to help them come up with big ideas for their business, something new, better, and different. So, I end up meeting a lot of people and asking them about their business. And what I started noticing was that they were all telling me the same story about their business. It was like a 3-chapter book or a 3-act play, right? And I started going, that's really interesting. It didn't matter what industry they're in or what kind of business it was or big or small. It was always the same story. And I ended up calling that old factory thinking because I realized that that's the story that we've been telling ourselves about our businesses and about the economy for actually 250 years.
What was the story?
Well, the story is, like I say, it's a three-part thing. So like, for example, let's say that you have a company. They say, what do you do? And you say, well, we make hammers. We're in the hammer business. Our business is called Harry's Hammers. The owner is named Harry, and he makes hammers. So he's defining his business. They're saying, my business is hammers. All right. And that's the first chapter. They tell me about their product or their service. That's the first thought about it. So you can replace that with anything: insurance, travel agency, any kind of manufactured product, any kind of service, right? That's where we start. The second chapter of the book is about their physical operations, their office, their actual factory. In the case of Harry, he's got a big factory, makes hammers. He's got a warehouse that stores the hammers and so on, right? So basically then they're defining their business based on this stuff that they have, right? They think their stuff is their business. And then the third part is that then they go out and they try to sell hammers and do all the things that you might do, even like more modern things like use social media and so on. But it's all about selling hammers, and their goal is always to sell more hammers.
Right.
All right. So that's the story. Everybody tells me the same one. Just change the characters and the product or service, right? So then what I realized was that then they would start to complain about their old factory, that there's all kinds of competition, that their products become commodities, so there's a very low profit margin, and that the sales process isn't really working that great anymore because people don't want to talk to salespeople. So actually the cost of sales is going up. So everybody had the same complaints, right? And they're all trying to figure out how to solve these problems. And I realized that you can't solve them because the problem begins with the way we think about our business, this way we think. Step one, step two, step three, that has now become obsolete. It worked for 250 years, but doesn't work now. But the biggest problem and what's really challenging about it is that our brains are wired around that way of thinking. So we think, we're basically thinking about business and the economy like it's a big assembly line to make hammers. Mm-hmm. And then we're all got our assembly line, whatever that is, right? So I realized that it's this hard wiring of our minds, and to such an extent that we don't even know that our brains are wired that way. That's just reality. This is the way you think about business. And not just the business people, but it's the whole government, it's the media, it's the whole way our society is structured and everything is all to support that old factory thinking. Mm-hmm. So that was the first step to go, wow, that's actually, it just became so apparent. And, and everybody I teach this to and they start learning it can totally see that now. So it's a very useful thing to see, oh yeah. So let's think about old factory thinking then. What's happened right now with the pandemic and all kinds of economic downturn right from that. Who is suffering most? It's the people that have those kind of businesses. They're the ones that are getting hurt for that. Yeah, got a question?
No, I'm those people.
Right. So in my book, New Factory Thinking, this was I wrote it in 2017. I said that these businesses are vulnerable because anything that would change the market conditions, what they're always changing anyway, but something dramatic like hurricanes or climate change or of course a pandemic. So I put that in there. That could happen. That could really upset the old factories, right? So very vulnerable. And also that the marketplace just doesn't reward that anymore, generally, because of the internet. The internet just has changed everything. And people don't really get that yet. They think, you see, what we think is, we still think, oh, I go to work every day in an office or hospital or, school or somewhere, some physical place, right? Of course, now we can't go there, but we always think that's where we would go. But we all actually really go somewhere else to work every day. Where do you think we all go to work now, Marina?
Well,
yeah, not at home. Yeah, even though we're at home, where are we really working if we're working at home?
We're online.
Yeah, we're working on the internet, the network. So we're working in a network. So we're not working in an assembly line anymore. We're working in a network. Okay, and in order to prosper in a network, it's a completely different way of thinking. It's a completely different way of operating, and a completely different kind of business. So what I see is that I saw that there was this gradual, I don't say destruction, but sort of dissolving of the old factory economy and the old factory businesses. But this is just speeding it up. So what we're going to see from this, which is this situation, which is going to go on for a while, and it's never going to go back the way it was. This is a huge shift in history. Is it just speeding up the end of the old factory economy and moving into new factory? Okay.
I agree with you. I have to say, I'm feeling that this period in time is accelerating everything, just really everything. And certainly what you're talking about as well, and the shift in businesses, but just in general, we're in this, and people are saying that every week feels like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, everything is accelerating. So it's interesting.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So what happens when you have something like this, of course, is that any kind of business that's like a sunset business or industry is going to go out of business quicker, right? Or businesses that were already kind of marginal will just, unfortunately, for the people that work there, of course, are going, those businesses are going to be the first to go, right? So I don't take any pleasure in that, but that's what's happening, right? So, and it was going to sort of happen anyway, but it's happening quicker now.
Right.
So based on that, I'm going, okay, well, that's a real problem, right? So then and you might want to bring up the screen now if you could you bring that up?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So what my task as a coach to people, their business is like, okay, well, how do we prosper in whatever market conditions are existing, right? And going in and try to be some sense of what the future looks like is to design our businesses to prosper in that new sort of networked environment that we're really is what the economy is. So I could say that the internet has become the new means of production as opposed to factories and assembly lines, which were the old means of production. Now the networked internet is the means of production. So how do we prosper in that environment? So then I started noticing that there were all kinds of companies that were in fact prospering. Of course, the famous ones are like Amazon and Facebook and Google and so on. And Apple. So what are they doing? Did they have a different way of thinking about things? And I realized, yeah, in fact, they do. So I started noticing the story that they were telling themselves. Now, they weren't necessarily telling everybody what they were doing, but I'm here to tell you what they're doing, okay? And when you notice this and you understand it, then you can start using this way of thinking for yourself, okay? Which is what I'm trying to do. So basically, I didn't invent this. I've just observed it, and then I've given some words to it in order to create some kind of a roadmap here. Okay, so I call this new factory thinking, and it's the new factory model. And what's really interesting about this is that it is the blueprint for virtual business. So as we're all going through all this, this is an opportunity to create a virtual business, right? So people, what if I had a virtual business right now? It would be amazing, because you see, the virtual economy is going to do fine. I was listening to the finance minister, whoever on Canadian government finance minister, saying the whole economy is grinding to a halt. Like, one, that's a stupid thing to say, okay? And it's stupid because it's actually not true. So the old factory economy is grinding to a halt. The new factory economy is doing fine and maybe even accelerate. So in the last 2 weeks, my business has been busier than ever because we're a new factory and we are a virtual business. So I feel very fortunate that I was ahead of this, so that when it happened, at least I'm in some position to be okay, right? So anyway, so what is this new factory thinking? You're probably wondering, right? Okay, so it basically. Now let me see if next screen if I can show you. Oh yeah, well, let me just say that this is based on the book New Factory Thinking, New Factory Thinker. And what I've done is I've just updated it a bit to make it more about virtual business element of it. And I've created another version of it called the Virtual Business Handbook. So been kind of busy the last couple of weeks putting that together. But it's all based on that. So let me just go ahead here. I just want to find the screen I really want to get into. Okay. So I can talk about how this works. So if you're thinking out there that you want to create a virtual business, this is the blueprint for it. Okay. So you don't just say, okay, I'm gonna get on Zoom, and that's my virtual business. Okay. That might be okay. Actually, that might be all you need to do, but I doubt it, right? So it's not just about technology, it's about how we design this virtual business, what I call a new factory, right? So how do you do that? So the very first step in thinking about this is, well, let me back up a bit. Actually, just the very first step actually is to think about it in two different things, okay? So we're gonna have our old factory. We're not actually gonna change that. So I'm not suggesting that you change your old factory into a new factory. So we're not going to take that hammer factory and somehow transform it into something. Okay, we're going to leave it as it is. Okay, but we're going to like go across the street and start from scratch and build this new factory. Okay, so think
And
of it
just to, and quick question for you. So if you're looking at, well, for some people, they would just be starting a business from scratch, right? For some people, they would be reinventing what and how they do things. So when you're saying start with who you want to help as the first step, does that apply across the board, B2B, B2C, product, service, doesn't matter?
Yeah, well, we've done this with a couple of thousand companies. And they've been in every possible industry. It doesn't matter.
Interesting.
Okay? Because in a matter of fact, the new factory, there is no industry. We're not in an industry anymore. So there's like a whole bunch of ways of thinking that we got to just put away. So one of them is that we're in an industry, okay, or that we're even a type of business. It's just we're just trying to help people, okay. So in the new factory, we're starting from scratch, whole different way of thinking about things. So it has a whole different vocabulary to it too, okay? So anyway, so the first step is, instead of thinking about what our product or service is, that's the old factory, we think about who do we really want to help, okay? So this is a completely different thing. It sounds so simple, right? Who do I really want to help, okay? And, but what we're really saying is that that's my business. So for example, in my case, 22 years ago, I said, my new factory is, I want to help business owners that are ambitious and have good intentions. That's who I want to help. That's my business. I'm just helping those people in whatever way I can. I'm not in an industry. I don't have any particular product or service. I'm just trying to help them. Okay. Now, I wouldn't be their dentist, because I wouldn't do a very good job with that, but I might be able to refer them to a dentist if they need it.
Another quick question, because we always hear that when you're identifying your target market, you have to go as niche as possible, and then that's the key to success. And if you're saying business owner who is ambitious, that sounds very wide. So is that as wide as you kept it?
Well, I also added in good intentions.
Right, and good intentions. Well, how do you quantify that or qualify it?
Well, I just talk to them and I figure out whether I think they have good intentions.
Okay.
And I get to make that value judgment. You say good intentions from my perspective.
And what are those? What are good intentions?
Well, I mean, they're just trying to make the world a better place. Okay. Let's put it that way. So I could get into that, but it's a pretty good measure, right? To just say, and there's a lot of them out there, right? Now you can be much more specific. You could say, I work with business owners who run construction companies. I mean, you could do that. Mm-hmm. That would be fine too. It's just about who is it that you really want to help, right? And then build this virtual business around those people, okay? And not be hung up on what the product or service you're selling. This is the simplest thing, but it's also the hardest thing, because we're so wired to say, I sell hammers and I'm in the hammer industry, and that's what we do, right? But the marketplace doesn't care about that. So if the marketplace doesn't want hammers, they don't care about your factory. They don't care about, unfortunately, about the people that work there. They don't care about your industry. they just say, I don't need a hammer.
Right.
That's it. That's what the marketplace is. The marketplace is the one. It's like the marketplace decides whether your business is successful, right? So guess what? The marketplace has changed like crazy in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Like it's like what people wanted 3 weeks ago from you, they don't want now.
Right.
What do they want now? So what I did was I woke up in the middle of all this. I said, okay, I'm trying to help these people. What do they need right now? Well, they need to create a virtual business. All right, so let's take what we're doing and package it up and create a program for it to help people create a virtual business. I mean, I basically created a whole kind of new form of business for us in the last 2 weeks because of the marketplace has changed.
Right.
So my business is meant to be able to morph, be like a chameleon, to change with what is going on, as opposed to sitting there going, nobody wants to buy hammers right now.
Right.
And that's what's going on, right? So, and the government has to bail us all out because of that, right? So, but if we were more flexible in how we think about business, then we would do that. So the very first thing is think about, who am I trying to help, and then say, I'm going to try to help them in whatever way I can. Okay, so that's number 2 there. It says, make it your intention to help them in whatever way you can. Oops, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself there.
And Bill, will you be able to share your slides with us? Would you be able to share a copy with me after this discussion?
Yeah, so I'll send you this slide deck, and then you can post it up there.
Fantastic, thank you.
I'm really trying to get the word. I've been on a bit of a mission for the last 3 years, like telling people, wake up, people. This is what's going on. And about 10% of people did wake up, and the other 90% were kind of like, well, I don't know, what's the matter? I was like the guy in the Titanic saying, we don't have enough lifeboats, and we're heading for an iceberg. Anyway, so I'm hoping people are listening now. So I'm on a mission to just get it out there now. So anyway, so you make it your intention to help in any way you can. So that means that you have to think about what maybe they want now that they didn't want before. Okay, and then how can you access networks of people to meet those people? So see, this is why in a virtual world, it's amazing, because I just start going, well, where are the networks that have those kind of people in it? And then I just start tapping into that. So me giving you this talk is me tapping into your network, right? So maybe I can meet more people that way. All right. So this is what a new factory is about. It's a relationship building system, essentially, right? And a value creation system. And the other term I use is, I call it a value hub. So what you're thinking of your business is, well, it's a value hub. I'm creating a hub of value around the people that I'm trying to help. Okay, so easy to say, hard to do because of the thinking. So your business then becomes this network of networks of the people that you are trying to help, and the people that can help those people, and you're in the middle of it. That's the way to think about it. All right. Now I want to change the sharing here. See if we can do this, because there's another screen I want to show you that wasn't in my original talk here. So stop the screen sharing. Share again. See if I can do that. Let me see here. There we go. Okay. Let me share that one. Can you throw that one up on the screen?
Absolutely.
There we go. Okay. So this is really, really cool, because you can, it'll just give you so many ideas of what you could do with your virtual business. Okay. So what I've seen is that there's actually these tiers of new factories and virtual businesses, if you want to think of it that way. Okay. So at the very bottom, I call it tier 1. So that's where 99% of companies are right now. They're at tier 1, where they have a product or service. So it's hammers or whatever, financial service products, or executive search service that you have, right? So they're at tier 1, and the problem with being at tier 1 is you have a lot of competition. It turns your product into service into a hot dog. I call it a hot dog, a commodity, and you're really vulnerable to getting what I call blockbustered, which means you could get put out of business by some change in technology or market conditions. Okay, which is exactly what we're seeing happening. So the 99% of those companies, tier 1, are the ones that are really in trouble right now. Okay, so that's too bad. So then next level, call it a program. So the program is to create a membership level of your business that you can, you have members now. So the members pay some kind of fee and they're in this membership and it's kind of an ongoing thing and they really self-identify as a member of your community, okay? And I have lots of examples of that, like Morgan Hamill, one of my members, my membership program, she has a company called The Garment. And she's got 35,000 followers on Instagram. And she also has 3,000 members who pay, anywhere from $10 to $100 a year for the membership. Okay, so she has a much more stable business in this environment because her members aren't going to drop out, and about 80% of members always renew.
But so, what are her members paying for? Why are they paying a membership fee?
Okay, so what her garment business is she sells clothing as a virtual business. So she has the 35,000 followers, or young women like in their 20s, 20ish, so more or less. And then she has all these makers who make clothes, and she curates who the best makers are. And then she has these pop-up sales every month to sell these clothes. And then the makers just ship the clothes to the customers. Okay, so she's just created the platform there. Which is actually tier 3, which I'll get to in a minute. But then she had the membership where they say, well, we have special pop-ups for you, special discounts, special shipping, and all that kind of thing, special events and so on. So you get a lot for that $100. But the other thing is that, as is traditional, or as has been told, is that members buy 230% more than non-members did. So because you paid your $50 or whatever, you're more likely to buy more. You see, because you're admitted.
And the added value that we would be providing to our members, is it just in those additional features, or do they also expect a lot of, content that they would be receiving that non-members don't receive? Do you find that that's important too?
Well, yeah, but the thing is it's different in every case. Like so although suggestions you have, it could possibly be things that you put in your membership, right? Mm-hmm. But it's, you can think of all kinds of things. But the idea is that members get things that the non-members don't get. So you still have tier 1, right? But then you have tier 2, which is a membership. And, and that can be all kinds of things. So it's like, Amazon has their Prime membership, right? Okay. Right. And it's $100. They have 100 million people on that membership. So they get $10 billion before they've even sold anything. And the average Prime member spends $1,600 a year on Amazon, and the non-member spends $600 a year.
Wow, interesting.
Okay, so but they get the $10 billion already, no matter what. Costco makes 75% of its profit from the $100 you give them to be a member there. All right. And then the other 25% comes from the store and all the stuff they're selling. Like, it's crazy. It's all flipped around, right?
Right. It's just, we've always thought that those programs and those things, they're just very specific to large corporations or big box, right? Amazon. And you were saying that this is what even the smallest of businesses should be doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to use the word member, and it's not like they get a membership card and they get points or anything. You have to think about it in a broader terms. So it's just saying, I'm creating a membership for these people. Like, I have somebody that I work with. He's an EO member, and he's created something called Helical Pros Network, and it's a membership. And these are guys mostly, that I'm sure all guys really, that they work in. They have these they're helical contractors. They make these helical foundation things. Like, I can't really explain it, but they know what it is. So they're all over North America. So he has a business like that at tier 1. So he created a membership for all of his competitors, basically, to be in. So now he's making money from his competitors.
Interesting.
So what this is meant to do is not give you every little detailed answer, but to say, wait a minute, what kind of membership program could I create? And it could be like $1 million per member, and you have 10 members. Like, it doesn't have to be 10 million members at $1. It could be one member at $10 million. But you get all kinds of possibilities. But you start thinking, okay, well, how could I transcend the level 1, my competitors, and create a membership program? right? So Apple has members, Microsoft has users.
Mm-hmm.
The different perception of how people relate to the company, each other, right?
Interesting.
That's a
Okay.
program. Then we go to level 3. See, as we go up, it becomes more and more virtual too, okay? So then level 3 is a platform. So a platform is when you really are creating a community, okay? So at that level, we are thinking about things like, like Facebook obviously is a platform, right? I mean, Amazon's a platform because they're basically, Amazon has some of its own products, but primarily Amazon is created a platform for people to do commerce with each other.
Right.
So this is something really exciting. Like one example of this is the Bookkeeper Connection Network. So this woman, Shanine, out in Vancouver, I work with her, and she has a platform called the Bookkeeper Connection Network. So she has a bookkeeping company, but now she has this platform that bookkeepers can join. So every day, like even since the last 2 weeks, she's signed up a whole bunch of members to her platform, and they pay to be in the platform. And that's just to be in the platform. If they want to be a member, then higher member, then they pay even more. Okay.
And then what are they getting for their membership? Regular.
Well, basically, she's creating a virtual, one giant virtual bookkeeping company. Okay. So like they're all isolated bookkeepers. Well, now they're actually part of this larger group, and they can share their knowledge with each other. They can actually do coaching sessions with each other and charge each other for teaching them each other things. And then they're like a buying group because they have, they buy software and all this sort of thing. And they also just get the community support and connection with each other, which is actually why we call it the Bookkeeper Connection Network, because it's the emotional value of the connection that they value most because they're so isolated. You see? So now that they're really isolated, like at home, they want to be connected. So at tier 3, you're selling a lot of emotional value. And if you were in a position right now where you had that, people would want to be connected even more, and you could own the platform. So
let me just also clarify when you say platform, because for somebody who is in, let's say, the e-com space, product space, there are different options that are easily accessible these days, right? You don't have to build your whole platform from scratch. But if you are in services or just creating a community hub, same as the lady in your example from Vancouver, what is the platform?
Well, and here again, it's not about technology, okay? So there's lots of platforms. Like you could create it with like Mighty Networks, for example. That's a technology that you could use to create like your own virtual Facebook kind of thing. Okay, right. Mighty Networks is a really cool platform, but it doesn't have to be technology. Like I have a platform. It's called the New Economy Network. Okay, and we have 350 participants in that, and I've been building that for the last couple of years. So we don't have like an app, and we don't have any kind of like online thing. Except like we have a Facebook page, okay? So that's, a group there. But so I guess we're using that as a technology, but it isn't really the key to it. We have these virtual and live events. So right now we're going virtual. So on Thursday, I'm hosting the live event for our chapter in Hamilton at McMaster's Innovation Factory. So I've been building this platform for the last 3 years. And once again, it's just going along just fine because it was always meant to be virtual, but it had to be. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is aggregate people around an idea, which in this case is the new economy. So you could just create a platform of 100 people and you could talk on Zoom, and that would be the platform. Okay. So actually the simpler, the better, but a lot of people get hung up. Well, I don't have something like Facebook. I go, well, you can actually use Facebook as your platform, right? Or something like that, or LinkedIn, right? So it's about the people though, and creating community. So who should, you could be a member of a community, but what if you just created your own community and got people to be part of it?
Right.
Right. Okay. And then there's tier 4. So we're way up in the stratosphere now because this is such a rare thing. So as you go up, there's less and less people do it, which makes it even more competitively advantageous because there's less and less people even would think about it, let alone do it. So at the platform, what do you think the platform of platforms is?
where you bring together kind of what you're doing, where you're bringing a lot of different communities together and referral programs and all things like that?
Yeah, yeah. So that's good. So what it means is that you've completely taken the high road now. So you're saying, like let's say, for example, you're in the fitness industry, right? So you're trying to get all of your, like Peloton is in the fitness industry, right? So they've created a platform, right? So that you can do all these online fitness things with their bike or without their bike, but that's a platform. But the platform of platforms would say is that this is where you go to find all of the fitness platforms. We've curated them, we've organized them, and if you become a member of that, then you can access all of these fitness platforms, at least the ones that want to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then of course you're the ultimate curator of all of it.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
So like something like Trivago or Gabi, I don't know if you've seen their advertising, but that's what they are. They're platform of platforms. They're saying we're aggregators of all the other platforms. You go here because you'll get an overview of everything,
mm-hmm.
right? And it's it's once again, it could be technology, but it's more of an attitude. It's an attitude. So as you go up too, you become less competitive and more cooperative, and you start transcending all of that fighting. So in my case, another platform I have is the 10% Club. So I have 50 members in it right now in this platform, and basically we all have agreed to give each other 10% if we refer business to each other. Mm-hmm. So even the last 2 weeks, business has been going back and forth through this 10% network because I've referred people to people and made money from that, and other people have referred people to me, and they've made money from that, and I got the business. So that's.
And is that completely trust based? You just trust that people will pay you if you referred and it converted, or how is that tracked?
Totally trust based.
Nice. Trust
based, okay? Because it's a community, and if somebody screws up, it doesn't do it, like doesn't adhere to their agreement, then they're kicked out. No one will do business with them anymore. So everybody knows that. So we've never had a problem. One time, this guy didn't get it, he got kicked out. That was it. It always works. So that's interesting too. So the trust level goes up too, actually.
Right, which is also another, another trend in business in general, right? We used to be also siloed in our own businesses. God forbid we mention something a competitor would find out, even though they're doing the exact same thing, right? But we're so secretive. And now all of a sudden it's collaboration, it's trust. And you called that trend years ago, which again, I find quite interesting and prolific.
Yeah. So old factory thinking is really competitive, and we thought that's the way to go, right? Be competitive, and that will make people better businesses and stuff. And there's a point to that. But the better, what will actually work better in this environment we're in, especially in a network, is to transcend and cooperate. Okay, so transcend and cooperate, because like example, I have a client in Australia. They have a grass cutting company. So the biggest company in Australia cutting grass, okay? The commercial grass cutting for all the cities, like big cities. And they created this program called the IVM program. It's like a logistics software program. And so they offered that to all the cities for free. And they said, now, if you want to go to the higher level membership, it's $250,000, and we integrate all your suppliers to this network. And so all the cities in Australia signed up for this, and then they get paid by the suppliers to be integrated with it. And they obviously have an incentive to do that. And those companies are grass cutting companies. Okay, so he's making money now from these other competitors, but the competitors are happy because they're actually getting more closely connected and enmeshed with their client, which is the city. So he says, I don't get paid for cutting grass. I get paid when grass gets cut. You see, but none of his competitors would ever have thought of that, because they're all fighting with each other.
Right. It's fascinating. And I think it's important to say it again, to really drive the point home, and especially for our audience that hasn't read your book yet, so hasn't really taken that deep dive into understanding what you're teaching, what you're coaching people on. Because often we think, well, it's time for me to go digital. meaning I'm going to create, I don't know, an e-com store for what I'm doing, or I'm going to be leveraging digital for, I don't know, marketing, etc. That's not the virtual business you're talking about. You're talking in a completely, just a complete shift in the mindset and how we view businesses just completely overall. It's not about, well, now I have online presence. It's no, it's how we're operating. It's really, it goes to the core of what the business stands for. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, because it's kind of a false friend, this idea, because you'd say, well, we're in tier 1, but we're going to have an online store to sell hammers, okay? Or we're going to use social media to promote ourselves, to promote hammers. But you're still at tier 1. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Like it's okay. Like it's better than nothing. But it isn't what I'm talking about. Like it's not taking the business to a higher level. I mean, somebody having an online store to sell hammers right now is not going to get people very excited. It just means that there's 100,000 hammer companies selling online. Still back to the same problem.
Right. Just an easier way of getting a hammer that maybe right now we don't need as much.
Nobody's buying a hammer anyway right now. So it just means that your online store is not getting any customers. So that's not, we're talking about a much more advanced way of thinking about this, but really not that hard to do.
So I'm curious to know, Bill, so your big idea company, is it, step 1, you said identify, because I thought step 1 is identify what your big idea is. You said not quite. You said step 1 is identify, which customers, who are the people that you want to be serving. That's number 1. And then when you say big idea, is that just your way of, kind of making it stand out, or how big does the idea have to be?
Okay, well, that's good, because that's the next slide. So maybe you could share that one now.
Of course.
All right, there you go. Okay, so remember, we had the first step was figure out who you really want to help, and once you do that, then you're ready. You're all set up really for tier 2, tier 3, and even tier 4. Okay, because you now understand who is going to be part of this network, right? The second part then is the big idea. It's like, what's your value proposition? Let's think of it that way. In this new factory, right? So usually we're very limited in how we think about what we're doing, right? So we're selling hammers. Well, what's it for? Well, hammer and nail. That's what it's for. But are you really in the hammering nail business? Is that what you're in? Maybe you're actually in the building things business, right? That's actually what you're in. But we got very concrete. So when we start thinking about the big idea, we start to expand the notion of what the point of our business is, right? So here's some ways to think about what this big idea is. What's the thing that you're going to be able to put in front of people that they're going to go, wow, that's amazing. Never heard that before. It's incredible. I really want that. So the way you think about it is, first is, well, what's some big problems that these ideal people you want have that nobody's helping them with right now? So I woke up that day and said, what's the big problem people have right now that nobody's helping with? Well, they got to work at home, and their business, their old factories are shutting down, and that's their problem, and nobody's helping them with that, right? So what's the big goal? Well, the big goal is to help them create a successful virtual business. And how could I do that virtually? Well, it's all I could do a whole thing virtually. So great, it makes sense.
And Bill, quick question, if I may. It's a question from our audience, and to clarify, so how do you keep a close eye or keep, the pulse on what your members' needs are as they evolve? Certainly, when in the current situation, it's kind of easier to realize with certain member group, not all, but other than that, and especially as your community grows, as the community scales, how do you keep close touch with them? I don't know, are you doing surveys? Are you jumping on one-on-one calls? How are you staying relevant to your community, to your members?
Yeah, so that's another fantastic question. So the new factory, if you think of it like it's a relationship and discovery machine. Okay, so you're trying to develop relationships and with your customers and prospects, and instead of just going, hey, you want to buy a hammer, you stop, you put that aside. You're not giving up the hammer, but we put that aside, and we just go into a discovery conversation with them. You know, say, how are you doing? How's business? How's your life? Whatever. What's going on for you right now? What are you trying to accomplish? What are your big problems? So we're actually continuously finding out from the marketplace what the heck's going on with them. All right. So because what they wanted yesterday isn't what they want tomorrow. All right. And this has been true ever since, not just during the pandemic, but what they wanted yesterday is not what they necessarily want tomorrow. So, so we need to be continuously going into that discovery, whether it's focus groups or surveys or whatever, but it's that one-to-one conversation with people that will allow you, because otherwise we walk around in delusion that they all want hammers, when maybe they don't. Maybe they want screwdrivers.
Right.
Okay. And then are we willing to switch to screwdrivers? Because that's what they want. You say, oh no, you don't need a screwdriver, you need a hammer. No, most people don't even ask though, do they?
Right.
Okay,
Usually,
so
right? We assume.
So it's a continuous thing. It's just to keep thinking about what do they really want? How is that changed? Because it's always changing, right? It's always changing. And we have to have a business that's set up to do that. I mean, I wrote a book in 1998 actually, called The Strategic Enterprise, which was really the beginning of this thinking. I changed the name ultimately to Beyond Basketballs, but it was all about that. It was about having a business that's set up to seize profitable opportunities quickly as they arise. Okay, so instead of having this fixed factory which makes hammers, you'd say, let's have our business set up so that if they shift from hammers to screwdrivers, we can catch that right away. We can be the first ones to the customer with that. How can we set up a business like that? All right, so so I'm giving you a lot of information, but you're recording it, so people will watch it more than once, I guess. All right. So anyway, so we have this big idea. What is it? What's interesting now? What's interesting today? That they would really catch their attention, right? And so I create the virtual business program, and everybody's interested in that. I've been getting, like, all the webinars I've been doing, hundreds and hundreds of people signing up, because now a year from now they might not be interested in that. And I'm okay with that. And then we're going to be on to something else, because then they'll need something else. Who knows what it is? But I'm ready to hear. Okay, so that's the attitude kind of thing. Now, one of the things you can do, and I did this yesterday, like I do these 2-hour virtual business blueprint sessions. So I'm a little plug there. So if people want to do that, they can do it with me. So I did one with this one fellow, and he got really excited about it because we gave this program a name. And I won't give you a name yet because he hasn't launched it yet. But you could, you say, what's the name for this thing, this least low tier 2 thing? So like the Fashion Knowledge Network, or the Feathered Friends Club, or that Helical Pros Network. Give it some kind of name, and that will focus your mind. You'll say, okay, well, now I've got a membership and maybe even a platform, Well, what is it? But I got a name. Okay, so now I can focus my mind on what that is. And as you do that, it'll all start to come together, actually. So I've learned that the first thing to do is figure out who you really want to help, start thinking about your customers and what they really need right now, and then give this idea of helping that way a name. And you can always change the name.
And I know you're a big fan of unusual names. Another of your books that I read was How to Sell a Lobster.
Yeah, this How to Sell a Lobster.
It's an unusual name, but it was such a good book. I also had
problem with penguins. Right. Yeah, and Beyond Basketballs, and so on. So yeah, so kind of names are useful to get people's attention, right? All right. So okay. So now we've done step 1, step 2 in the thinking. So now the third step is, well, how am I going to attract all these people to my network, right? To my program, to my platform. Well, the best way to do that is to offer something free. So package up something free that people would go, oh, well, at least I can try it, right? I can try it. It doesn't cost me anything. So we're not selling anymore because that doesn't work anymore. What we want to do is just offer them something free so they become a subscriber.
So give me some examples for your own business, but also some of your clients. What are the different ways of offering free value?
Yeah. So in my case, for my Big Idea Adventure program, which is that kind of the main program we have. About 5,000 members of it. So they all started by doing our free Big Idea conversation. So it's a free 1-hour session that they do, and we help them come up with a big idea. So basically, they get a big idea out of it in the hour.
And is that one-on-one with you? Is it a group session? How is that structured?
Well, yeah. So I have different coaches, but if they connect with me, then they do it with me. Yeah. So we do that. So I do 2 or 3 of those a week with people. Doing one this afternoon, and that's my free value, right? So I figured out that I used to say, oh well, if you work with me and go my program, we'll come up with a big idea, and that wasn't working, right? But then I said, well, no, come do the free session, because I was spending the time with them anyway, and I will help you come up with a big idea. So now we just give them away like a piece of chocolate from a box of chocolate, and and they're like, wow, that's amazing. And then of course they want to be in my program, right? To build it. So that's just been so easy. It's like the easiest thing in the world. I go and give a speech, and I'll say at the end, well, if you want to do this big idea conversation, just give me your business card, and I'll get like 50 to 100 business cards. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to do it, right? So now I've engaged the prospect. I mean, you have like a million examples online, like LinkedIn is free, right? That you can use it for free, never pay a penny, right? Why do they do that? Why does LinkedIn have free? Like, how is that a good business?
Right.
What are they doing? Well, they have 400, at last count I heard anyway, 440 million subscribers that use the free, right? Okay. Like Shanine, the bookkeeper woman, she does a free session with them to help them figure out how they're going to create a much better bookkeeping business. Like, how can they make more money as a bookkeeper? Because they typically don't make a lot of money, right? How can they do that? So she's trying to help them figure out how to become sort of a super bookkeeper, I guess, right? And they go, oh, I'd love to have that conversation. And another guy who's a financial advisor, he does a bucket list session with people. He says, come to me. I won't talk to you about money or try to sell you anything. We're just going to do your bucket list and figure out what you want to do before you die. He gets like 150 people a year to come in for that.
That's crazy.
And they sign up for his bucket list program. Okay? But he's not selling anything. He's giving it away, my goodness.
Interesting. Right? But yeah. Can you, and so you cap it, you said you do a couple of, you do those sessions with a couple of people per week. And then you have coaches that take on the others. There's your waiting list.
The other coaches do their own, I've trained them, they do their own marketing, and they do their own free sessions with them.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the part of my platform of platforms, actually. In my case, and I have a whole other thing I didn't get into about my business, but the platform of platforms is like, well, one is I have all these coaches, right? And they have their own businesses, and they offer my program when it comes up. And then I have a whole bunch of new factories that I've invested in my time in, and that I own a percentage of that. So every time they get a member, I get money. So again, last week, they've been sending me money because they have members signing up, and every time they do, I get some money.
Interesting. And then how do you, well, I've seen obviously how you have been promoting yourself, your own personal brand, the business. I know that you host a lot of webinars. I know you give a lot of talks. I know you have given a lot of talks to members of entrepreneurs organizations. So obviously, your book, so you've built quite a bit of visibility to your clients or people that are looking to build virtual businesses. What are some of the musts? You said selling doesn't work anymore. So offer free value. Okay, number one, but how do you tell people about the free value that you're offering and still make them interested in that free value? And that, you're not just going to, I don't know, be full of fluff. What are some of the musts? Are you telling people, I don't know, do write an ebook or do more speaking gigs? What are some of the things to look at first when marketing your virtual business?
Yeah. Oh, excellent question too. So that's why having a big idea is so helpful. Okay. So you have this big idea. It's not a product or service. It's like what you're really trying to help people become. And So in my case, I'm trying to help people become new factory thinkers, create a virtual business and stuff, right? So that's my big idea for right now. And so then I go, I can then communicate that in a million different ways, right? So I can have a talk with you. I can do a webinar. I can do videos and put them up on my website. I can go on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and promote those videos and articles, and then I write books about it and so on. So, but all of them are about basically one thing. So in my case, it's if you have a big idea, that's good, and if you don't have a big idea, that's bad. And so everything centers around that. So what I see with people is that one big of a mistake, they go out and they're trying to still sell their product or service, which nobody's going to want to have any interest in them right now at all. Not that they ever did, really. But if you're going out there and saying, here, I have all this stuff to share with you, to educate you, to entertain you, to give you some tools to empower you, then people are going to gravitate around that in the network, right? So the network will reject the salesperson. The network will embrace the one that's very generous with their, their time, their knowledge, their wisdom, their good intentions. This is the way I talk about good intentions, right? Good intentions are the currency of the network.
Interesting. And especially in these times, I find more than ever. And we're seeing also, we're seeing people's intentions right now with, the critical situation that we're in. I feel it's just shining the light. We're in the spotlight. Whatever your intentions are, who you are at a core as a person, what you're doing, what you're really after, I find has just become so clearly visible to us all, and that's interesting.
For sure.
So, Bill, we're almost out of time, but I want to know how do people connect with you best, and what are your immediate programs that are available? Because I know they're differently priced programs. Some are more complex because it's more of a turnkey solution that you're offering. Some are still very affordable and can set people on the right path. So, what are they, and how do people get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, I don't know if that link is going to show to the people that are watching. I just sent that. Do you see that? It's under private chat. I don't know, live.
I can definitely, I can put it on the screen as you're talking.
Okay. So I don't know if they can actually click on that from what they're watching there, but it's not that one. Yeah, virtualbusinessprogram.com. If you go to that, virtualbusinessprogram.com, I'll just say it that way, is that you can go there and you can just see what we're offering. Like we have like a virtual business support group. It's $65. It's really just covering my costs, really. So we're going to meet once a week, and you can come to it. And people are going to share their experience. I'm going to talk about a lot of more detail about how to put these things together. And then I have a session I can do with people. It's 2 hours. I do charge for that. They can see that, and they can book a 2-hour time with me, and I'll help them create a virtual business blueprint. So like in the last 4 days, I've done 4 of those with people. And they found it very useful because they now, I said, here, okay, we put it all together, like went through all this and said, okay, this is the technology used, and now they're getting it all up and running. So that's those are the things that I'm doing right now to help people with the virtual business part of it. Okay, so and it gets to be I've gotten into a lot of the theory here, but ultimately it's very practical. It's like, well, what can I do quickly and get this going and start making some money right now, because that's what we want to do, right?
Well, it seems extremely practical because when you talked about platforms, it's you said it's not about any fancy or complex technology. It's about ways of bringing a community together. When you talk about how to market it, it's not about big budgets. It's about, first of all, being genuine in your desire to help people in your message and having the right idea. So it does seem to be very accessible. And when I read your book and I read about your program online, it definitely seemed to be something that's that can be done quickly, and something that if created and packaged fast can go to market pretty much right away. And so because we're being recorded and now this would go on record with all of my network, I would love to have a session with you to talk about some of my ideas. So I hope that you could bump me up on your list so that we could chat and get started.
So if anybody wants to have a chat with me, they can send me a message on LinkedIn, I guess. Yeah, that'd be good. And then or an email. And then I can send them a link to schedule something.
Perfection. And please do send me your slides. I know you didn't go through all of them today because we had a bit more of a discussion than just the presentation,
Right.
but I would love to share it with our audience in the event page as well, so that they could have access to it.
Great. Well, thanks for having me on, Marina.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated it.
Well, we'll chat one-on-one very soon.
I cannot wait.
This week sometime.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Bye.